Hi, I'm Marcy Cole, and this is Henry Robin, my dear friend, ex-husband, spiritual teacher, soul brother on earth, that and so much more. And we are here live, up close and personal, because we really wanted, in the aftermath of you reading the 3 pages of our 17-year history, by the way, that was not easy, we wanted to share a little bit more with you in the hopes that there might be something you can relate to, you might learn from, you might be inspired by on your journey of life. And so, I think we would probably both agree that the central lesson in our relationship for Henry and I is really the absolute necessity to be in our truth in order to live our most authentic and joyful life. And so what we'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about some of the fears that block that truth in our 20s, some of the breakthroughs that helped us break out of that place of stagnation, and some of the blessings that came from our experience together. So you want to take it away with the fear stuff, the stuff that scares us.
Sure. Yeah, I grew up in the South, in Tennessee, although it could have been anywhere, and society is not very kind to gay people at all. The only messages I ever received about what it is to be gay were always very, very negative, whether it was the joke where gays were the punchline, or whether it was the game we play on the playground called Smear the Queer, or the dagger in the heart when you hear somebody called a fag. All I knew is that being gay is something that I certainly didn't want to be, and it certainly didn't apply to me as well. So what I did for my entire life is I built up this huge wall of denial around my true self. I really convinced myself that I was not gay, in spite of the fact that when I look back, there were signs of me being gay from my earliest childhood memories.
Yeah. And and I guess being a woman in her 20s, I was very attached to the blueprint of life, and so it was time to get married and have babies and have the house, and so I was very afraid of letting go of that blueprint, and I was very afraid of disappointing the people in our lives. Everyone sort of wanted the best for us, and we were Marcy and Henry, and I wanted the happy ending, and I really didn't want to disappoint them. I was very, what we would call other-directed versus self-directed back then. I also, for those of you who are financially dependent on a significant other or spouse, I would say, I made really good money in my 20s in media, but when I switched into social work, I was making next to nothing. I was totally dependent on Henry financially. Do you remember that night we went out to dinner and I said, oh my God, how am I going to support myself on $17,000 a year? So truthfully, I was really afraid of being financially independent again. And finally, I was afraid of letting go of Henry. I mean, there's a big difference between being in love and loving, and being attached and being in love. And Henry and I were attached, and we were very, very good friends deep down. So the whole issue of separation and loss terrified me. So I was very afraid that he would be mad at me if I left the relationship and that we would lose each other forever, So the way, moving into sort of breakthrough, how did we break through some of these fears? For me personally, the 2 central things I think I did upon reflection is, one is I gave myself permission to ask myself, what do I want? What does my heart want? Instead of thinking I was idealistic or Pollyanna, like some along the way would tell me, I said, what do I want? And I really started to imagine myself being able to have that and deserving of that. But here's the thing. In doing so, I also learned how to let go of the outcome. So I wasn't dependent on having that vision of the kind of relationship I wanted to dictate how I felt about myself and my life. And those, I think, were the 2 central things that gave me the foundation of strength to be able to, when I called you that time and I said, I can't go on vacation, I'm going to my friend's house, we're separating, I was so terrified, it felt like I was jumping off a cliff, but that gave me the strength to do so. So what was the breakthrough, some of the breakthroughs for you?
Well, I believe that because Marcy and I were such dear friends, because we loved each other so much, we respected each other, and there really wasn't anything we wouldn't do for each other. The marriage I had with her became the closet walls for me. Marcy was my one ticket to leading a life of a straight man. And this is not something I was consciously aware of, but she was my way to avoid being that awful thing I thought being gay was. So for me, the breakthrough was recognizing that the marriage wasn't going to work. In some regards, as soon as we decided to be divorced, that was the thing that finally freed me to recognize I can't do this. If it doesn't work with Marcy, it won't work with anybody. And that really became the opportunity for me to really begin to get in touch with the man that I really am.
So, and then the blessings, we talk about what were the blessings that came out of this relationship that wasn't the blueprint we either one of us expected or wanted, but but in walking through it together, what were the blessings that unfolded? So from the breakthrough, what were them for you, and then we'll talk about them.
Well, one is I get to have you in my life the way we were meant to be.
I know.
And that's a big blessing. That's the greatest blessing of them all.
Yes.
There's nothing like being true to yourself. There's nothing like living the life as the person that you were born. As soon as I began to get in touch with the fact that I'm gay, and then I began to meet other gay people and began to realize that all those terrible lies I received as a child were in fact lies, I began to thrive in every way in my life. My career, my friendships. I met the man of my life partner now of 11 years, Bob. I think that the greatest blessing was being able to lift the veil of denial and be who I am. For example, I'm on the board of the largest civil rights organization for the gay and lesbian community, HRC. Recently, their board co-chair for 2 years. Everything in life became rich and full, and though this is only a part of who I am, it's a big part. And when you add that to all the rest of me that never changed, I finally got to be the man that God meant me to be.
Yes, yes, you are. That's for sure. And the blessings are so bountiful. It's hard to sum up in a short amount of time. But I was actually relieved that Henry came out after we divorced, because it sort of forced me, in terms of my own personal development, to have the courage to do what I needed to learn how to do, which was to let go. So that was really a blessing. And in doing so, I was so inspired by my own life. I remember saying, oh my God, I got to the other side. And now I think we both understand that we all have the capacity to lift that veil of denial, to be living proof, to be able to get to the other side of our fears into the life that we're really born to live. And so the other blessings are that 2 wonderful long-term love affairs came into my life in my 30s, which helped me get in touch with my sexuality again and my feminine energy again. I learned so much more about what I wanted and what wasn't right, and again trusted myself much earlier to say, I'm not going the distance on this one, but thank you for the experience. It was really wonderful. And then almost a decade after Henry and I divorced, I found my love, who I adore, who I got married to, and we're so happy together. And so that door opened. And again, the blessing of being able to be in the now with Henry. There were people that wondered all along, why aren't you angry? He deceived you, he robbed you of these precious years, and all of this stuff I was hearing. And I did not choose to look at it that way, because I really believe that we are co-creators in our experience. And in our experience together, we created together our beautiful friendship, as well as the veil of denial. And so being in that place of mutual responsibility and compassion, Henry and I, we did get each other back, even richer than ever before. And now we are like family. I mean, he was just at my niece's wedding. He's still Uncle Hank. My husband Ben and I visit he and Bob on vacation. We're staying with them right now for 48 hours in New York. And my husband, we just joked today, he refers to Henry as his brother-in-law. So it's a happy ending all the way around. Not your typical traditional kind of happy ending, but our happy ending. And so we are so grateful and so honored to have shared some of this experience with you today.
Can I say one thing?
Oh, sure, for sure, go.
If for some reason you were taken to Marcy's story because you might have been in a similar position as to the one that I was in, I want to say to you, it does get better. It really gets better.
Yes, absolutely. And if you want to stay in touch with us, you can actually go to my website, www.drmarcycole.com. And if you wanted to get in touch with Henry, you can also send me a message through the website, and I will certainly forward it to him. So it has been such an honor for us to have the opportunity to share part of our story with you. And we wish for all of you watching to absolutely embrace all of the lessons, all of the rich lessons that are embedded in the journey of your life, and to listen and hear and embrace and access and express and trust the whispers of your heart, because we're convinced that is the path for all of us to lead our most authentic and joyful life. Thanks so much for being with us.